Welcome back to Madman Review. You catch that video we did on which ammo calibers to stock up on? If you did, I bet you're wondering, how much ammo should I keep around? You ain't alone. A lot of folks are asking, how much ammo should I have? Let me break it down for you with a no-nonsense approach. First off, there's protecting your home. This is the immediate space where you and your family live. You gotta be ready to have each other's backs, right? It's about safety, peace of mind, and knowing that if things go south, you're prepared. Then you've got the situation of community defense. Maybe there's an active shooter in the area or some other small scale conflict. It's about looking out for your neighbors and making sure everyone's safe in a tight spot. Next up, mob violence. As tough as it is to accept, it's becoming more common nowadays. Fourth, war. It's a heavy subject and something we all hope never happens, but if tensions rise and things escalate, being prepared can make all the difference. And lastly, there's the whole end of the world, apocalypse scenario. Honestly, though, no matter how stocked up you are, even if you've got a mountain of ammo or you're churning it out yourself, you're never truly prepped for that madness, so that one. It's probably best to not lose sleep over it. Worst case scenario, war. Alright, here's the thought process. If we gear up for the absolute craziest scenario, war, then anything less than that, you're golden. So, focusing on prepping for war type situations, this isn't about going full retard. Full Rambo. It's about being smart and having what you need on hand for both defensive and offensive situations. Now, using war as our benchmark for how much ammo to stockpile makes sense. It gives us a ballpark figure that'll have us covered for those other situations we chatted about earlier. Here's how you can break it down. Think of your gear in terms of primary, secondary, and specialty weapons. Your primary is your go-to, the one you're most comfortable with and can rely on in most situations. Your secondary, it's the backup, the one you switch to when things aren't going as planned. With your primary, and then there are specialty weapons. These are for particular situations that need a unique touch. With this framework, you can get a pretty good idea of how much ammo to stack up for each. For your primary weapon, we're talking big guns here, the ones you'd grab first in a tight situation. Think AR-15s, AK-47s, or other neutered military rifles. These are your frontline firearms, the ones you'd be using the most, especially if things are getting intense. Then there's the secondary weapon, which is typically a handgun or pistol. It's your sidearm, your trusty backup when your primary is either out of reach, out of ammo, or just not the right tool for the job. Think of it as your trusty wingman. Now, specialty weapons, they come in when you've got a particular task at hand. These aren't your main go-tos, they're more for those unique moments in an engagement when you need a specific tool for a specific job. They fill the gaps your primary and secondary can't cover. Doing the math. If we use history as a guide, the Civil War lasted 4 years. The US Revolutionary War lasted 7 years. The French Indochina War lasted 8. USA-Vietnam War lasted 10. Soviet-Afghan War, 9 years. And finally, the US-Afghanistan War, which is the longest war in American history, lasted 20 years. Using the Civil War and the Vietnam War as our benchmarks, the shortest and longest durations on the list, not including the outlier, we find a median duration of 7 years. This gives us a solid reference point for how long we might need to be stocked up on ammo if we're thinking in terms of worst case scenarios. Alright, here's how we're gonna roll. First up, let's tackle your main squeeze, the primary weapon. Figure out how much ammo you think you'll need in a year for that one. Next in line is your trusty sidekick, the secondary. Do the same and estimate the yearly ammo count for this backup. Finally, let's not forget that wild card in your arsenal, the specialty gear. Think about what you might need annually for those. Once you've got those annual numbers, just add them all up and then multiply by 7. That's going to be your golden ticket, the magic number of rounds to have on hand, so you're set for any kind of weapons showdown that comes your way over a good stretch of years. And just so we're crystal clear, this doesn't include any ammo you'd use for training or just messing around at the range. Got it? Awesome. Primary weapon ammo. We're choosing the AR-15 as our primary weapon for this example, the main piece in your firefight arsenal. Now, you want to be all set with this bad boy, right? So we're talking a full combat loadout, 7 mags, 6 on your belt, 1 already loaded in. All told, that's 7 magazines, each loaded with 30 rounds, so 210 rounds at the ready for any crazy situation that might kick off. Let's be clear though, we're preparing for a war-level situation here, and then anything a step down from that. So with the AR-15, you'd need 210 rounds. But how's this look year by year? Think about it. If things get so wild, you need a full combat loadout every quarter. Then dang, times are tough. So, bare minimum, you'd need 210 rounds every 3 months. That's 840 rounds a year. Now, using our lucky 7-year plan, you're gonna want a whopping 5,880 rounds in your stash, just for the AR-15. If things go south and you're burning through ammo faster than that, then man, it's like Civil War level chaos. At that point, you'd be hoping the big arms companies have your back with some extra firepower and rounds. But for our planning purposes, aim for those 5,880 rounds as your goal. And hey, remember, we're not counting training rounds here, so on top of that big number, think about how often you hit the range. Weekly? Monthly? Every quarter? You'll need extra ammo for practice. Secondary weapon ammo. Okay, let's jump into the backup plan, our secondary weapon system. For this, we're using the SIG P365X macro as our main squeeze. That's my top pick when we're talking anything more serious than community defense. However, when things get real intense, like mob-level madness or straight-up war, I'd lean towards a full-size piece like the Glock 17. Now, you might be wondering, why not go with the SIG P320? If you're curious about my thoughts, check out my recent video on it. Long story short, I hate that pistol. So for simpler scenarios like home or community defense, I'm all about the Glock 17. But if I'm just cruising around day to day, that SIG-X macro is my go-to CCW. It's got that shorter handle, which makes all the difference when you're carrying it concealed. Super handy for home defense and car defense, or if you're suddenly faced with an active shooter. In situations where my primary isn't an option, the X macro lets me handle business, then dip back into the shadows, making sure any would-be threats can't pick me out as the good guy packing heat. We're basing our math on both the Glock 17 and SIG-X macro. They both pack 17 rounds per mag. You'll want 4 mags filled to the brim, giving you 68 rounds at the ready. If you end up needing that full load every quarter, you're looking at 272 rounds a year. Let's round it up to a smooth 300. Over our 7-year game plan, that's 2,100 rounds ready to roll for any wild times that pop up. Yeah, we rounded from 272, and that extra 28 rounds might seem like pocket change, but don't forget that 2,100 doesn't account for training rounds. With your backup, it's a good idea to practice with what you'll actually carry. I get it, those 9mm JHPs can be pricey, so stock up gradually. Specialty weapon ammo. Alright, buckle up because it's time to dive into the wild world of specialty weapons. These bad boys are all about the moment. They're not your daily drivers. They come into play when the regular tools in your arsenal aren't quite cutting it. Think of them like your secret weapon, tucked away for that just-in-case scenario. For instance, let's say you're staring down a locked door, your AR or pistol isn't going to help you, but a shotgun primed for breaching, there's the ticket. Or maybe you find yourself in a wild scenario where it's you against Mother Nature. If dinner's looking more like wild game than DoorDash, that everyday AR or sidearm isn't the best pick. Instead, you might want a shotgun loaded with birdshot, or for hunting small game for food, a Ruger 1022 could be your best hunting buddy. So, for example, let's talk about the Maverick 88 Tactical. This bad boy can hold 6 shells, ready to pop off. For those serious moments like when you need to defend your turf, you'd want 4 full loadouts. Think about it this way, if you're expecting one crazy event every few months where you'd need to bust out your Maverick 88, you're going to go through those 24 shells pretty quick. So annually, you're looking at around 96 shells. Now, stretch that out over 7 years, and you've got yourself a total of 672 shotgun shells. But here's where it gets a bit crafty. Shotguns aren't a one-size-fits-all kind of deal. You got slugs, double-aught bucks, bird shots, a whole menu of choices. If we are splitting that 672 shell stash 3 ways, you'd want 224 of each. Now, for those of you who might have a pesky bear or 2 around, remember, bears don't care about birdshot. You'd want slugs for those. So maybe stash away half of those 672 shells as slugs, just to be on the safe side. And that's your backyard guide to stocking up shotgun ammo. As far as 22 long rifle ammo, even if the price has spiked a bit, you can still get your hands on a truckload without burning a hole in your wallet. The way I see it, I use this baby so much, whether I'm going after small game or just having a blast planking cans off a fence, I don't even bother keeping track. With my trusty Ruger 22 by my side, having a mountain of rounds is just common sense. Thousands upon thousands, no stress, no mess. Just keep a stash and you're good. Now let's talk big game with the AR-10. If you're in an area where you might bump into a moose on your morning stroll, or maybe you're hoping to bag an elk on the weekend, this is where things get a bit more calculated. For every quarter, you'd want 3 full mags ready to roll. Doing the math here, 3 mags, 20 rounds each, that's 60 rounds every 3 months. Carry that out over a year and you're looking at 240 rounds. Stretch that over our 7-year plan and that's 1,680 rounds. So, in case Bambi decides to bring his bigger and beefier friends, you're all set. Hey, this ain't just about hunting, it's about being prepared for whatever the world tosses your way. That's our rundown on how much ammo you should stockpile for your main gun, your backup, and any of those special purpose guns you've got lying around. But hey, this is just one take, right? If you've got a different method to the ammo madness, drop a comment below. If you're vibing with this common sense breakdown on keeping your ammo stocked and ready, give this video a thumbs up. Sharing is caring, so send it over to family and friends. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button too. Till next time, keep your powder dry and stay safe out there.